So let's bring in Elizabeth Goitein, the Senior Director of the Brennan Center's Liberty and National Security Program, joining us now for more. Elizabeth, thank you for being here. I'll bet you didn't expect to have these kinds of issues. Maybe you did. But I want to ask you, citing this...
I did. Unfortunately, I did.
Oh, you're way ahead of us then. And that's good, because we can ask you about it. Trump citing the Alien Enemies Act. And does that essentially give the president summary power to kick people out of the country that he designates as an enemy, and no court can review it?
The short answer is no. The Alien Enemies Act, which is an antiquated wartime authority dating back to 1798, only applies during a declared war or an invasion by a foreign government or nation. And if those circumstances are in place, then the president has broad powers under the law to detain or deport any non-U.S. citizen who was born in or is a citizen of an enemy nation without a hearing, and regardless of whether that person is in this country lawfully or unlawfully. But those conditions must apply. And in this situation, they don't. We are not at war with Venezuela. Tren de Aragua is not the Venezuelan government, and we are not under armed attack by Tren de Aragua, which is what invasion actually means under the law. So no, the president does have unlimited discretion to do what he wants under this law, and the courts can absolutely review what he's doing.
Well, if I could just follow up on that, so that in the president's executive order, he outlines all these links that the government asserts exist between Tren de Aragua, a drug cartel originally, and the Venezuelan government. And they suggest, basically, they're saying that there's no distinction. This is a hybrid criminal state at this point. And the Tren de Aragua is being used by the government of Venezuela to invade the United States, a predatory incursion into the United States. And that's good enough to invoke the act.
Well, we have to look at when the act has been invoked previously in history. It's only been invoked 3 times. Once was during World War I. Once was during the war against England of the War of 1812. And then once was during World War I, after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. You have to ask yourself, is that the situation that we are in today? Are we under armed attack from a foreign power? And I think under any fair assessment or reading of the law, that is simply not the case.
So are the courts able to force the president to abide by judges' orders?
Yes, the president must obey a court's order. That is fundamental to the checks and balances in our Constitution. The president cannot be the judge of the legalness of the legality of his own actions. That is the role of the courts under our Constitution. That's checks and balances, and that is what prevents presidents in this country from becoming kings. So President Trump here is trying to claim the authority of a king to simply disregard the court's order. That's illegal. It's unconstitutional.
His border czar said he doesn't care what any judge says. They're going to do what they want to do, and he's speaking for the president.
Yes, and that's an assault on the rule of law. It's an assault on checks and balances. And we have to ask ourselves as a nation, do we want to be ruled by a king? Or do we want to be ruled by a president under the Constitution with checks and balances to prevent horrendous abuses? And let me just say that dispensing with hearings and due process under the Alien Enemies Act virtually guarantees that innocent people will be swept up in these deportations and sent to an absolutely horrible fate in El Salvador without any chance to prove their innocence. And checks and balances are here to prevent exactly that kind of abuse of the law and that kind of, frankly, tragedy.
Yeah.
So I guess quickly, the president, what can happen to him if a judge says one thing, the president denies the judge's order? What could happen to the president?
Well, courts do have a number of tools at their disposal, including civil contempt, criminal contempt. These are legal terms that basically mean that the courts can impose fines in some cases. In extreme cases, they can actually put federal officials in jail for noncompliance. But really, the fact that we're even talking about that is what should concern us the most, because this is unprecedented. We have not had presidents in the modern era, basically since the Civil War, which of course was an extremely different circumstance, claiming any kind of right to simply disobey the federal courts. That is a constitutional crisis, and it's one that President Trump has brought on all of us through his actions.
All right, Elizabeth Goitein, thank you very much for explaining that high-stakes legal conflict that we have right now. Thanks very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.